Do you want to know more about the traffic in Virginia Beach? Well, I'm telling you all about that today, and we're starting right now. Hey, my name is Sansalone and I'm a real estate agent in Hampton Roads, Virginia. Today we're talking about the traffic in Virginia Beach. I get a lot of people asking me about traffic, people moving here from out of town. I try and tell them from a local's perspective because I grew up here. So I'll say things like, oh, traffic is real bad, and oh, people complain about the traffic all the time and it takes forever. Like, they would talk about where they were from, and once they heard what I would say about the traffic, people would be like, that doesn't sound too bad. And I would think in my mind like, okay, well, you say that now, but wait until you get here and you'll feel differently. But then after talking to so many people, I started researching really the statistics and the information about this area's traffic. I found some articles that gave some more specifics as to how bad our traffic is. I looked at an article talking about the drivers in Virginia Beach, and we're apparently, by one publication, ranked number 3 in worst drivers, and they use speeding tickets and citations as data points to this ranking. I will say that a lot of people do complain about the drivers here. That is a separate issue than the traffic itself sometimes, but they do all obviously play a part together. One of which ranked us as the 31st worst metropolitan area in regards to traffic in the country. Well, that doesn't sound all that bad. I mean, we're a population of over 1 million people in the entire Hampton Roads area, so of the 31st worst is, it's not too terribly bad. But what I figured out was that the rankings of this list was based on the time distance it takes to get somewhere at different times of the day in relation to normal, they call it free-flowing traffic times. For instance, they have for Virginia Beach, in evening rush hour, they had us at 40% higher time to get from place to place in relation to free flow time. So during rush hour, it was really congested. That's in relation to our own free flow traffic times, meaning if it takes you typically 15 minutes to get to somewhere and it takes you 40% longer to get there during evening rush hour, you add 6 minutes to that 15 minutes. And so it would then take you 21 minutes instead of 15. And in morning rush hour, it was 22% higher than in free flow traffic. So that means if you're on a 15-minute commute typically, it would only take you just over 3 minutes more, which puts you a little over 18 minutes. It takes longer, but because I lived here for so long and I grew up here, I got used to when something takes a certain time, if it takes longer than that, I would get frustrated. So what I learned was that the length of time, or the frustration of the length of time it took to get from place to place, was contextualized based on what I was used to and what other people were used to in the area. When I told somebody, hey, it could take you 20-25 minutes to get somewhere from home to work during rush hour, a lot of people thought that was like, I'll do that every day of the week. Now, I'm not saying this is always the case. If you talk to locals, a lot of times locals will say, well, that is not even close to being true. Again, it's on average, right? And sometimes though, the traffic can be real bad, like if you're on going through the tunnel to the peninsula or vice versa in rush hour times, or if you're gonna go even on the interstates at some point and there's an accident. You can spend half an hour, 45 minutes just sitting there in traffic waiting. There is the reality of, there is a lot of traffic in high congestion intersections. It wasn't until the 80s, 90s, 2000s where the city really, the entire area exponentially grew, and the roads are still catching up. And the cities are doing a great job of trying to help alleviate the congestion, and they're expanding other bridges, they're redeveloping other parts of the interstate system. So that's really hard and it takes time. And another thing I notice that people talk about when they're moving here in trying to limit the traffic or the time from place to place is they picture a certain city and saying, well, I don't want to live in this city because it's too far from this other city. The cities are so often large and they span a large part of the area to where if you say you don't want to live in one city, that city might be very close to another city that you may have discounted that spot because you thought it was 2, 3, 4 times as far, but in actuality, it's not. For instance, Chesapeake goes into the south and almost southeastern section of Virginia, and that same city goes far north and west into places in Suffolk near the water, near Newport News. That is tens of miles across from one side to the other. So if you say, well, I don't want to live in Chesapeake because I'm too far from Virginia Beach, well, Chesapeake borders Virginia Beach. So part of Chesapeake is only, well, in some cases, 5 seconds or a minute or 10 minutes from Virginia Beach and western parts of Virginia Beach. So it all really depends on where in each city you want to live. And so I would encourage you to think about that and think about the specific locations, not the city itself, because you could throw out really great areas just because they say Virginia Beach or they say Norfolk. So if you're local too, drop a comment below and give me your description, your opinion and experience from living in this area too, because people coming into the area would love to know and get some localized advice. And if you have any other questions, please check out all of my other videos. I've got plenty of videos about moving into the area, neighborhoods, just general information about the cities, as well as I'll throw some information below about my contact info. If you have any questions you want to ask me directly, you can do that. And I will see you on the next video.